significant development, the Supreme Court bench comprising Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud and Justice P.S. Narasimha today stated that a cinema hall owner could prohibit moviegoers from carrying their own food and beverages inside the cinema halls. However, the bench clarified that all cinema halls must provide hygienic drinking water for all moviegoers free of cost in theatres. The Supreme Court further noted that when an infant or a child accompanies a parent, a reasonable amount of food for them can be carried inside the theatre halls. The issue in this case arose when the Jammu and Kashmir High Court directed owners of cinema halls of the state not to prohibit cinema goers from carrying their own food as well as water bottles inside the theatre halls. The Supreme Court was approached against this impugned judgment of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Senior advocate K.V. Vishwanathan, appearing on behalf of the appellants, submitted that since cinema halls were private properties, they could reserve admission rights. He added that such prohibitions ensured safety and could also be seen in airports amongst other places. He added that the Jammu and Kashmir Cinema Regulations Rules of 1975 did not provide that a moviegoer should be allowed to bring eatables inside the cinema halls. On the contrary, however, the counsel appearing on behalf of the original petitioner submitted that the cinema ticket represents a contract between a moviegoer and the theatre, and that in the absence of prohibition printed on the ticket, outside food could not be prohibited. The Supreme Court bench was, however, not convinced with the original petitioner and its arguments. Justice P.S. Narasimha today noted during the hearing, and I quote here, "The basic premise is that cinema has a right to reserve admission. The cinema owners have a right to sell their own food and beverages." Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud further underscored that a cinema hall is a private property and accordingly elucidated, and I quote from his oral remarks today, "A cinema hall is a private property. What goes in is for the owner of the property to decide subject to statutory rules." So saying that arms are not allowed or no discrimination on basis of caste or gender can be there is fine. But how can the High Court say that they can bring any food inside cinema halls? Suppose someone starts getting jalebis. Owner would not want anyone wiping their hands on the seats. It's his right. He may not want tandoori chicken to be bought in. No one is forcing them to buy popcorn. But the owner has a right. For water, we can make a concession that free water be provided at movie theatres. But at the same time, you can't say that suppose they sell Nimbu Pani for ₹20, you can't say I'll go buy my Nimbu from outside and squeeze it in a flask and take it inside theatre. Accordingly, the Supreme Court noted that the fundamental aspect which needed to be considered was that trade and business of conducting cinema business was subject to regulations by the state. Quoting from the order dictated today in open court, "The property of cinema hall is the private property of the owner of the hall. The owner is entitled to set terms and conditions so long as such terms and conditions are not contrary to public interest, safety and welfare. The owner is entitled to set terms for sale of food and beverages. Moviegoer has the choice to not purchase the same. High Court transgressed the limits on the exercise of its jurisdiction. Absent is statutory rules to that effect. The imposition of such directions would affect the legitimate rights of theatre owner." At the same time, the Supreme Court bench reiterated that cinema halls had to provide hygienic drinking water without any charge to moviegoers. For more information on this ruling, you can refer to a detailed report, the link to which has been given in the description box below. Thank you. I'm Narasimha for LiveLaw. Keep watching LiveLaw for more such updates.